this. But you gotta change that tolerance. And that's why I was going through niggas like crazy. Can't fuck with it. Nope, don't like it. Don't like this. Oh, this outweigh this. Got to go. New nigga me, please.
What's good, YouTube? How's everyone doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another reaction video. If you're new here for the first time, my name is TMR, and since you clicked on this video, you might as well subscribe to this YouTube channel and make sure you click that notification bell. Leave your comments down below and enjoy this reaction video. What's good, YouTube? What's good, TMR gang? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another live reaction video. You have just entered the Break Room Chronicles. Well, breaks are normally 15 minutes, but child, over here, we break for 1 damn hour. Shouts out to the 2 Live crew. Child, I see you. By far the best damn chat on YouTube, honey. You better ask someone about this 2 Live crew. Oh, and shouts out to the Bush gang. Hey, Bush watchers. What it do, Bush gang? Shouts out to the Replay gang. Hey, Replay gang. Thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure you let us know in the bottom of the video that you're Replay gang in this thing. So myself and the 2 Live crew definitely know it's real. Hey, y'all, what's good? I hope you guys are feeling good and doing great. Thank y'all so much for stopping what you were doing and meet me over here in the damn break room, y'all. Oh, boy. Oh, Lord. Y'all see the title. Y'all see the thumbnail. Now, if you watched my reaction yesterday on the Luvd by Erica Creole Bay debacle over there, I told you guys that Erica herself came out with season 2. Okay, so we are definitely going to react to Erica's season 2. Like I said, you guys, if you don't follow this story, if you want entertainment, it might be something you want to follow. If you're already following it, good, great. Now, one thing I will say, you guys, I watch the comments, I look at the comments and things of that nature. Do understand, you guys, that I'm not on every single word that these ladies have said a year ago, 6 months ago, 10 minutes ago. You know, my point of a reaction is I'm reacting to the actual video. Things that are being said in the video, and based off my opinion of what is being staged around the video, these are my thoughts and my opinions. Now, we do understand that some of you guys are watching videos that others haven't. Do understand, you guys, I have not watched every Luvd by Erica video. I have not watched every Creole Bay video, but I have been watching all this unfold since, 2 years ago when Erica and Damien first got together. So, you know, I feel like I'm pretty much on task of what's going on, but there might be small little details that I didn't know, and good. That's okay. That's one good thing about the comment section. Okay, over here in the break room, we love to have conversations. That's why this is the break room, and all of us are not going to agree, right? And all of us are not going to disagree, but we can respectfully agree to disagree. Okay, it's okay. It's all right. I do understand a lot of people are emotionally invested in this whole saga that's going on. Do understand TMR is not, okay? My job is just to react to the video, okay? I'm not on any side. I'm not on Erica's side. I'm not on Creole Bay's side. Child, I'm on God's side, okay? I'm on God's side, okay? That's it. That's on the side TMR is on. So let's go ahead and get into this video, honey. We're going to react to Erica's season 2, episode 1.
And in so many words, he said no, he didn't feel comfortable because he didn't know if the baby was his, and told me that I can give that spot to my mother. Now, my mother would have gladly taken that spot, but I just assumed that he would want to be there for the birth of his first and only son. but it didn't quite happen that way. I had also informed him that if he wanted to go ahead and get the DNA test done, that I had no problem doing that. And I guess because I didn't agree to it in that moment when he asked, when I was 2 months pregnant, he told me to keep the same energy. I'm assuming that he didn't want to have anything to do with me until the baby got here. June 2nd.
Now, let's just say this. Due to the nature of the situation, if you guys don't know, Rakan and Erica's relationship was very short-lived. They got together. Erica met him based off needing to find a place to stay. And upon her needing to find a place to stay, she kind of confided in Rakan at that point, I would assume, on a like client business type situation. Rakan was her realtor, and she basically was confiding in him, look, I got some troubled credit. I'm going through a situation with my baby daddy. You know, I live in Houston, but I'm not from here. I'm from a few hours away, a little country town, and I'm in this big old city, just me and my 2 boys, and I need to find a place. Now, obviously, you guys, at this time, Erica wasn't pregnant. So Rakan, I'm just going to assume he may have felt sorry for Erica. Me personally, I felt like what Rakan should have done was kept this, business. Okay. He should have kept this strictly business. It makes me wonder, does Rakan hit on all the women that reach out to him for his real estate expertise or advice or assistance? Like, does he make it a habit of preying on single moms who definitely seem like they're in a time of need? I'm starting to get that vibe because, Erica definitely is a pretty woman, but, considering she was going through some man trouble, she just had a baby and her baby daddy are up and down. And y'all know from watching Erica, she liked to tell a lot of her business, okay, especially to people that like to listen. So she definitely confided. She told Rakan her credit situation, which she had to divulge that information because he was going to find that out anyway. So, in the process of all of them getting together, Rakan sent her like some sentiments, I think he even said he would share her YouTube channel. I guess in the sense he was calling himself trying to help her out. Maybe if he can get more people to watch her channel, give her more coins in her pocket. I was a little confused on that part. Erica mentioned that in season 1 when she did the whole expose of exposing Rakan and for the man that she feels like he is. So we're here now. Once Erica found out she was pregnant, she told Rakan. Rakan requested to do a DNA. He wanted the DNA before I don't even think she was in her second trimester. And Erica refused. And, I guess at that moment, Erica probably felt offended because she was like, I'm not that type of woman. When I sleep with a man, trust and believe I'm exclusive. When I sleep with a man, that's the only man I'm sleeping with. But Erica has to understand, although she may have been very sincere about her intentions, we find out later that Rakan wasn't. When Rakan was messing with Erica, he was also messing around with another woman named Janelle, okay? So Rakan was probably thinking, well, I'm a dog, okay? So since I'm a dog, everybody a dog. Well, Rakan, no, everybody's not a dog, okay? Erica seems to be like a hopeless romantic. She definitely is trying to find love, in my opinion, in all the wrong places. So I just wanted to give you guys a little brief on that, just in case you were maybe a little confused and didn't know what she was talking about.
I was headed to take my oldest son, who is 9 years old. I was headed to take him to school for his graduation ceremony, and I was hit from the back, and I was also hit in the front, which led me to have a lot of neck pain, back pain, and also when I was hit from the back, I hit my stomach on the steering wheel, which resulted in another ambulance coming and rushing me to the hospital, which they observed me for 24 hours, maybe a little over 24 hours, and they sent me home. I knew that it was not a good idea to send me home. However, I took what the doctors was telling me as a good thing, and I went home. The next morning around 7 o'clock,
So I don't think she actually went home. What she would call home, she went to Damian Cryer's house, okay, which is the father of her second son. because Damian Cryer said about 2 weeks ago in a video where he was basically cussing Erica out that she went into labor right there on his living room floor. Okay, so she didn't go home. She went to Damian's house, which I found that I guess, in the grand scheme of things, I guess Damian was trying to be helpful and felt sorry for Erica. I really feel like in my opinion, Damian's afference with Erica in such a vulnerable state made Erica, I guess, a little confused about his intentions. There was talk of Damian possibly signing the birth certificate to be Rakan Mucker's son's father. You'll find out later in the video that did not happen. Damian aborted mission on that. As soon as the baby crowned his head, he was changing his mind. So she didn't necessarily go home. She went into labor on Damian's floor.
I had the worst pain of my life. There was blood everywhere. And by the time the ambulance got there, I was on the floor and there was a head definitely sliding down. So at 11:08 a.m., I birthed out a beautiful, handsome little boy. And even though I seen a little bit of me in him, and I seen a little bit of Dia, and even a little bit of Cam, I more so seen his father. The one guy who told me to abort my baby. The one guy who was not there for me throughout the entire pregnancy. The one guy who I despise very, very much. But taking a look at my son and seeing him, I was willing to set my pride to the side to give him one last chance to be a part of his son's life. I knew eventually that I was going to...
Me personally, was it really her setting her pride to the side, or was it setting her hopes and admirations of the fact that she would hope when Rakan sees the baby, he would throw Creole Babe to the side and run into the arms of Erica? Like I told you guys in the beginning, Erica seems like she's a hopeless romantic. And I think that's what Erica wants. She wants, she wants textbook situations, scenarios. She wants the man to feel like, oh, Erica, I was so wrong. I abandoned you while you were 9 months pregnant. I'm such a horrible person. But now that I see my son's face, my only son in 37 years, because Rakan is, I guess, is 37 years old, you gave me my first son. Erica, I love you. Will you marry me? I think Erica wants that to happen, but we're going to fast forward to reality. And more than likely that won't happen. Rakan is engaged to a chick named Creole Babe on here. Now, me personally, I'm a little iffy on that relationship too. However, that's what he's doing over there. And Erica's doing, yet again, the single mama thing, okay, with yet another baby, unfortunately for her.
Going to find a way to get in contact with him. I just did not know when, and I did not know how. Fast forward to the situations that has happened recently on the internet, where me and my second child's father went at it with each other. We did months and months of content for you guys. We were both positive on camera and off camera. It wasn't until the end of my pregnancy, and of course when I gave birth, that I started really seeing changes in him, and I could not understand why. I could not understand it for the life of me.
Well, the reason why you were seeing changes in Damian behavior, because shit was getting ready to get real, sis. When he was, giving you that popcorn fairy tale conversation, that was that, sis, because the baby was in your belly. It wasn't a reality until you pushed that baby out. And then Damian was like, ooh, it's getting real over here. I mean, me personally, y'all, rightfully, I believe Damian made the right choice in not signing his name on that birth certificate for a child that clearly is not his. He needs to focus on his own children, his own baby that he just recently had by her. I don't even think the baby's 2 years old yet, okay? Or maybe he just turned 2 or something like that. I think the baby's getting ready to be 2 this year. I think the baby was born at the end of 2020 or the beginning of 20. I don't know, y'all. It's Erica having these babies so fast, I'm losing count. Okay, y'all clarify me in the comments. But Damien, she said Damien started changing, and yeah, rightfully so, because the reason why Damien started changing, in my opinion, his intentions was never genuine. I think Damien took an opportunity to prey on Erica's vulnerability, and once again, Erica felt she felt subjective to that situation with Damien. So I don't know. Maybe one day Erica will get it. I don't know when that's going to be, but for the sake of her and her sanity and her children, I really wish she would notice the red flags when it comes to the men in her life.
I really thought that he had changed. I really thought that, well, wow, maybe I could give him another chance. He said that he would be willing to go to counseling with me and everything. And I thought to myself, wow, maybe he is serious. Maybe he has changed. Maybe people of age are capable of change, because I have been hearing for so long that older men, they're set in their ways.
Well, Erica, believe that, because that's a true statement. Older men are set in their ways. Think about it like this, Erica. Damien is 50 plus years old. Since he don't, I mean, the change should have already happened. If you haven't became a stand-up guy by the time you 50, half of 100, since the chances of you becoming that stand-up guy is slim to absolutely none. Okay? I mean, sis, I think you need to stop focusing on people's ages and focus more on their personality, their characteristics, okay, as a person, all right? Damien already showed you when you were pregnant with his son, the man that he was. What would make you think that he was going to change for a whole nother man's baby? To be quite honest with you, Damien probably think you're a loosey-goosey, in my opinion, okay? He probably think you're some type of loosey-goosey. And again, once again, he just took advantage of your vulnerability because he was bored and he didn't have anything else to do but act like he was playing stepdaddy to your unborn child instead of him playing real daddy to the child that's already here, which belongs to him.
So I'm pretty sure that as confused as I were, that you guys were just as confused. In one of my episodes.
No, sis, we wasn't confused. Yeah, sis, we was right on target. Shit, I think you were the one that was confused. Yeah, we was all okay over here.
Towards the end, I called him Black Panther. And I also called him my superhero because I felt like he came in and he saved the day. And in that moment, I felt used. I felt played. And again, so confused. I just could not figure it out for anything to save my life.
You know what, y'all? I'm sorry to keep stopping this video, but the more she talks, things just come to my head. It be the like, what is your self-worth, sis? You don't think you're worth more than a man playing with your emotions? Erica, this is like your third baby. Since game don't recognize game, I guess not. I don't know what's going on in Texas and the chicks in Texas. Shout out to Texas. Since game don't recognize game, like if he wasn't even all the way there for you when you were pregnant with Damien or Dion, excuse me, you guys' child together. Sis, what would make you think that he was getting ready to be what you called him, your Black Panther? What made you think he was going to be Black Panther when he wasn't even Pink Panther for Dion?
I finally figured it out. Y'all. And it is going to blow your mind. So let's talk about the blow up on the internet, okay? There was a T channel that was live, and one of my relatives actually informed me that this content creator was live and that there was a lot of people bashing me in her live. Normally, when someone says that, I just don't go jump inside of somebody's live. Now, if I run across someone's live and I feel like entertaining whatever it is they're saying, and when I say entertaining, that means actually watching, looking at comments and stuff, and I'll do that on my own. But never has it been a situation where someone has persuaded me to go look at a live. For some reason that day I did. And in that live, I saw my second child's father in there. He was making some pretty mean comments to where I exploded. I ended up going live. I felt so disappointed in myself due to the fact that I felt like I had came so far to only just take 10 steps back. I was completely disappointed in myself. Disappointed in myself. And I knew that all those people that said that I hadn't changed, that they were going to indeed rub it in my face by saying, see, I told you so, she hasn't changed. Even though we both gave apologies off of camera, also, he was live on his channel and he said even more hurtful things. And I was so heartbroken. I was so crushed because I felt like I was building a friendship with my second child's father. I felt like we was like gaining each other's trust back because there had been so many conversations being had behind my back.
I don't understand why Erica feels like she needs friendship from these men. Like, I can understand being cordial with each other so you can co-parent effectively, but acting as if Damien needs to be your confidant, like, sis, that's what your homegirls are for. Sis, you don't have any homegirls? Like, at this point, I think you need to invest in some really sound, trustworthy homegirls, sis. So when you have vulnerable moments, you won't allow yourself to give in to men who, in my opinion, really don't care about your feelings, because as soon as you give in to the men, you know, it seems like they step all over your feelings like bad dope, sis. Sis, I would advise you to maybe invest in some good girlfriends. You definitely need that. And I'm not saying that being sarcastic. I definitely feel like she needs to confide in some good girlfriends. Erica speaks a lot about church. I don't know if she goes to church on a regular Sunday basis. Maybe confide and find some good girlfriends in the church, you know, maybe some single moms, and you guys can have play dates. And I don't know. I think Erica needs to take her focus away from wanting to be best friends with her baby daddies and just be cordial with the men and allow yourself to move on and allow them to move on. I think if she concentrates more on that, maybe she can get through this process a little better. You guys let me know what you think in the comments.
Like, it just made it hard for me to like really just trust anybody. And for the first time, I honestly felt like I could trust him, that he was changing. We met up at a Walmart in exchange for our son, and he apologized to me. He told me that I was the only woman that he was in love with. He felt ashamed of his actions. He felt embarrassed. He didn't mean any of the things that he said. He wanted me to forgive him. He said that he understood that it may take a while for me to forgive him.
But my thing is, how many times have Damien said this to you? And then he turns right around and shits on you every time. Like, at what point do you just take Damien for face value and move on? Me personally, says Damien is not your problem at this moment. You just had a baby that's not even 3 months old by a whole nother man. Like, at this point, you got bigger fish to fry. Let Damien wander around the city of Houston doing whatever the hell he does over there. Take your focus off of Damien, because that's the least of your problem, in my opinion. You got a whole bigger can of worms to deal with, and it's called Mucker and Creole Bag.
That he didn't know why he allowed himself to get so mad and things of the sort. And I told him, well, I forgave you a long time ago. And I mentioned something about my son's face. The reason why I have not showed my son on camera and in a video the appropriate way is because 3 days after I brought him home, the reason why I have not shown my son's face the appropriate way on camera, I finally figured it out. I finally figured it out, y'all. And it is going to blow your mind. 3 days after I brought him home, his face broke out tremendously. Now, I will upload a couple photos for you guys because I do know that there.
Sis, that doesn't really blow our minds. Things happen to newborns. I mean, thankfully, it's just a bad case of eczema. It could have been something much more tragic or devastating. eczema, since there's a lot of home remedies that you can try to get rid of that, especially taken to a pediatric dermatologist. I mean, he's new to the world. You know, it could have been something more horrific. I don't think, you know, again, I understand her not wanting to show her baby, but you know, babies are perfect. Whatever, you know, irregularly, you know, whatever situations may be going on with the baby, babies are still perfect. However they come out, you know, that's your baby. Be proud of your baby. That is your masterpiece. Okay. And the world will perceive that baby the way you perceive them. If you feel ashamed of him, then the world will probably feel a different way as well too. But if you embrace your beautiful baby, no matter what his skin, you know, irritations are, at the end of the day, it's just a skin irritation. Like, in my opinion, it's okay. But I understand she's the mother and she can showcase her baby however she feels like it, but I don't think that's so mind-blowing.
There were some comments that said that there was nothing wrong with my son's face, and the reason why I wanted to hide the fact that my son had arrived was due to the fact that I didn't want my child around a certain someone. And even though I still don't want my son around a certain someone, and even though he is never going to be around that certain someone, that still has nothing to do with the fact that I wanted you guys to see how handsome my baby boy was.
Okay, so when she talks about she doesn't want her baby around a certain someone, that certain someone is Creole Bae, okay? Erica does not want her child around Creole Bae because she despises the woman. And you know what? I mean, I get it, sis. I mean, you definitely got the luck of the buzzard, Erica, because Creole Bae has not only slept with one of your baby daddies, she's now slept with two of your baby daddies and is engaged to the third baby daddy. So I definitely feel it. But if you guys are familiar with the channel here called Luvd's Life, if you guys are familiar with a channel called Luvd's Life, let me know in the comments that you watched Luvd's Life, or if you watched one of my reactions on her channel. You guys know, 2 years ago, Luvd's Life went primarily through the same thing. She was married to a man named Gerard, and Gerard and her broke up. Gerard moved back to Texas because he was living in Florida with Olivia, and he moved back to Texas and he reunited his relationship with a chick that he was messing around with before he left Texas to go to Florida with Olivia. However, Olivia ended up leaving Florida and moving to Texas to try to reunite her marriage, and it did not work. However, Olivia was very adamant about her children not being around Gerard's girlfriend, which her name is Antonisha. Now, if you guys have been watching Luvd's Life situation unfold on the internet, you know now, 2 years later, Gerard actually has custody of the three children that Olivia and Gerard have together, and Gerard and Antonisha live together. So all the efforts, shenanigans, and games that Olivia played, it ultimately bit her in the booty, okay? And Gerard became guardian of the children. And now when Olivia didn't want the children around Antonisha at all, now they're with Antonisha every damn day. Okay. So the reason why I say this, Erica has the right to feel the way she wants to feel. However, if Rakan is with Creole Bae, as bad as it seems, you guys, because Creole Bae getting with Rakan, I think is disgusting, but that's just my opinion. However, unless Erica can prove some type of criminal negligence against Creole Bae, the courts are not going to listen to her personal preference. Okay. They don't care anything about your personal preference. Okay. Because we all got preferences. Okay. The courts are going, if Rakan is proven to be a suitable, fit, non-negligent parent, they go to court for custody and child support, because child support and then custody is a whole different matter. If Rakan Mucker wants to pursue custody via visitation or however he wants to pursue it, he can definitely take her to court, spend the money, and do that. And ultimately Erica won't have a say, okay? Because once the courts say, ma'am, he needs to go, the child needs to go visit his father due to the schedule the courts have set up for them, okay? Since y'all can't do it by y'all, since you two grown individuals can't handle visitations by yourselves, now the courts are involved, the courts are going to definitely get involved, right? So if Erica can't do anything about that. We watched the situation unfold with Olivia and Gerard, okay? Now, Creole Bay and Rakan are engaged. People are saying that they're not going to get married. Creole Bay say they are going to get married. I guess we just have to wait for the wedding day video at this point. But you are professing that your child will never be around, sis. I mean, be careful with that, because we've seen situations where the tables have definitely turned.
I was able to get a couple pictures the first 2 days of him breathing this amazing air here on Earth. But that third day, the severe eczema really kicked in. Things were revealed in my life and in my second child's father's life. A lot of hurtful things. But one of the things that were revealed is the fact that my son indeed was here. So me and my second child's father, we went live June 2nd at each other's throats. June 1st was when I allowed my child's father to see him. I had been pondering on how to give him the opportunity to be a part of his child's life. I knew that I could not go to him directly, because there was a possibility that either he wasn't going to respond, or the person that he's about to get ready to marry, I knew that she was going to be in his ear or underneath him, to the point where he couldn't breathe to even have a civil conversation with me. I woke up that morning and literally I said to myself, I think I want to pay his parents a visit to let them know that their grandchild is here. I couldn't understand why I chose that day to let them know that my son was now here. I mean, it had been almost a month later, literally almost a month later. I get in the car and I drive into town. And once I make it to his parents' house, I'm sitting in the car and I am literally thinking to myself, like, how is this thing going to play out? Due to the fact that I had not even spoken to them in months. Because I know how it is. You know, parents are always going to have their kids back. And from the looks of it, they had accepted his fiance into their lives. So I didn't know how to take them at that given moment. But again, I swallowed my pride. I got my baby boy out the car. I went and knocked on the door, and I heard my son's grandfather. He was yelling, "Who is it?" And I was afraid to say who it was, because I didn't know if they were going to tell me to get off of their premises because of my season 1. When the door opened, it was my son's grandmother. You could tell that she had just gotten out of bed. She was still dressed for bed. She told me to come in while she go and put on some more presentable clothes. And when I looked to my right, I saw my son's grandpa. He was laying down on the couch. And when he saw me with his grandbaby, he sat up in the couch. I handed him his grandson. And the first thing out of his mouth was, he looked just like Ricardo.
Okay, y'all, look, I don't know why Erica is saying this so slow. I mean, it's almost giving me like she's acting remedial at some point. I don't know why she's talking so slow. So here's the thing. So Erica goes to, she builds up the courage to not only reach out to the grandparents, but she goes to their house, okay? unannounced, and she was reluctant to knock on the door because she didn't know how she was going to be perceived. Okay, well, we find out that she was welcomed, okay, because the baby, she had their grandchild in her hands, and they was happy to see the grandchild. Okay, now me personally, I do understand. I mentioned this in the reaction yesterday on Creole Bay. I personally felt like Erica should have had the people come to her, right? Just I gave you guys the analogy, like when Jesus was born, Mary didn't go all around the city of Bethlehem, letting everybody see Jesus. Basically, the wise men followed the star and came to where Jesus was at. Okay, and essentially that goes on, like that tradition has went on for centuries and centuries. Typically, when women have babies, the family and friends come to where the woman is to see the newborn. Okay, that's typically what happens. Although in Erica's situation, like she said, she was reluctant to reach out to the people. She felt like if she would just drive over there, they wouldn't be brazen enough to slam the door in her face because she got this newborn baby and then her other two kids. So Erica decided to play the Jedi mind trick on the people and use hopefully the empathy of the people of having babies with her will compel the grandmother, to open the door, which she did. It worked for her, but I guess Erica said in order to get closer to Rakan, I need to warm up to the mama. And I think Erica felt like if she got close to the mama and warmed up to the mama, she could probably convince Rakan. Again, all these games and tactics, but I guess when you desperate times calls for desperate measures in this situation. And Erica desperately wants to have a father for her child. And I understand that all women do. Okay. But, Erica did season 1 and she talked about Rakan and everybody involved the way she felt like she needed to. I mean, obviously she was hurt. So hurt people do what? Hurt other people. But Erica got paid for that season. She bragged in her live that is now taken down when her and Damien got into it, that she made a handsome amount of money on that whole series of all those videos that she did. So good for Erica. But now we're getting to the point where the grandparents see the baby for the first time.
Went back to the car. I told Cam and I told Dion to get out of the car. I locked my car doors and we went back inside of the house. At that point, my son's grandmother was dressed. She put on hand sanitizer. She grabbed my son and she smiled. And she said the same thing, that he looks just like Ricardo. She even implied that he looks just like his youngest daughter. And as she was playing with my son and holding him and examining all of his different features, her husband grabbed my son Dion and was throwing him up in the air just like old times. You can tell that they both missed him, that he was indeed the life of the party. He was running around the house, dragging things on the floor, throwing things and everything else. And they were sitting back laughing and telling him how active he was and everything like that. So my son's grandmother started asking me questions about his name, how much he weighed, when I had him. Long story short, she asked me if I wanted her to call Ricardo, who is the father of my son. I said, sure. Of course, I was very nervous for many reasons. I didn't know if when she called him, pretty much going to not come, and I would have been embarrassed yet again. I hadn't seen him since November, and I just knew that it was going to be very awkward.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't understand why Erica chose to use this storyline to blow up her channel on YouTube. Erica seems to be, a very clever woman, okay? And I don't understand why she didn't choose to use her influence in a different way. Like, we do understand all these influencers or people on YouTube all have personal lives or whatever. But I don't understand why Erica chose or chooses to use the situation with her children as storylines for YouTube. I personally feel like it's very distasteful, in my opinion, because those kids have a right to privacy. They don't need, the world doesn't need to know that they're not or are not being accepted by their biological fathers. I think that's something that's a cross that Erica needs to bear. I don't think the world needs to be privileged to that, but we do understand these young people of today. They feel like everything needs to be filmed and put on the internet for the world to see. Okay. And then when people bring up past situations, then they get upset because they're like, well, why are you bringing my past up? Well, hell, sis, because it's on a video. That's why.
But again, I told her, yes, go ahead and call him. So she called him one time and he did not answer. The second time that she called him, he finally answered. I guess he was at work or something. She told him that I had brought the baby by and that I wanted him to come see the baby. One of the first things that he said was, give him time to stop and get a kit. Now, when she translated that message to me, it sounded like she said, let him stop and get his kids. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Because, he do have 2 sisters, just like he has 2 brothers. When she reiterated that he wanted to stop and get a kit to swab my baby, I saw red. Steam was blowing out of my ear, and I can feel the heat coming from my nose. And I said, no, ma'am, we are not doing that. Because I couldn't understand why that was like the first thing out of his mouth.
Well, sis, the reason why that was the first thing out of his mouth is because that's the most important thing to him. He wants to make sure that the child that he is going to call my son is definitely his son. Now, Erica, in all due fairness, I don't know what type of relationship you thought you guys had in your head, but obviously, as things played out, it wasn't what you thought it was. Okay. I mean, unfortunately for you, there are men who do that. I mean, sis, Damien did the same thing to you. And y'all was doing videos together, hell, halfway living together, breaking bread together. And at the end of the day, the man still wanted the DNA test. I mean, same with Rakan Mucker. All the things that you confided in Rakan about Damien, and you thought that Rakan was being a friend to you, just like you think Damien is a friend. All Rakan did was everything you told him, he turned around and used it against you, sis. And that's why I'm very adamant about not, when you get in a new relationship, not talking about your old relationship. Because really, to be quite honest with you, it has nothing to do with the new relationship. Okay? The new man that you get with, he doesn't have to know how the old man dogged you out. That's none of his business. Because some people will take that and feel like you are weak or you a chump and use that against you later on, especially when they get mad at you. Okay. They definitely gonna use that when they get mad at you. So Erica was upset because she felt like, well, the grandmother and the grandfather said that the baby looked just like you. So why you just won't take your mama's word that the baby looked like you? Well, sis, I mean, because he won't. What his mama say don't mean anything to him. But I do understand why Erica didn't want to do some drugstore test, because I know it probably made her feel some type of way. Probably made her almost feel a little cheap in a moment, So definitely, yeah, y'all need to go to the clinic or to the testing center, wherever you go, to get the proper swabs instead of doing it in the kitchen or in the bathroom of somebody's house. I felt her on that. No, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this the right way. But Erica's gonna prolong this because she knows this is what Rakan wants. So she's going to use that to her advantage.
I know that him wanting a DNA test was something that he had been wanting to do for a while. And even when I said, hey, let's go get it done, I guess he wanted it done on his terms. Now, I am not going to allow my son to get swabbed from a $20 over-the-counter DNA kit. And if he wanted to get a DNA test done, we were definitely going to do it professionally. I was not going to allow him to swab my baby. The first time of ever seeing him, like, you should even be thankful that I'm even allowing you to even see him. Because remember, you did not want him. Remember? And just imagine if I would have actually had an abortion. The son that he has always wanted, that no other woman was able to give him in 37 years, would not be here right now. But look, guys, he's here.
Erica, girl, have you turned actress? Because sis, you definitely giving me drama vibes right now. I mean, no woman has ever been able to give him a son. Hell, has he been trying for us? Hell, was he trying for a son with you, ma'am? I think he just been screwing. I think that's what he was doing. Yeah, this is so weird. Let's continue.
As angry as I was, and I knew that he was on the way, I decided to leave. And when I left, I ended up going back because I realized that I had accidentally left his bottle and his pacifier. And I didn't know if he was going to come back and get that bottle or that pacifier to go and get a DNA test done.
See, didn't I tell y'all Erica's very calculated? Honey, she was thinking. She said, oh, hold up. But if y'all notice, if y'all been watching Erica for the past couple years, if y'all notice, Erica always leaving something at somebody's house. Her and Damien get into it. She done left her camera. She's left her camera over Damien's house. She's left her camera at Rakan's house. She's always leaving stuff. And you know why that is, Erica? Because sis, you got too much baggage you carrying around. You got babies, diaper bags, bottles, rattles, Pampers, baby wipes. Like, sis, why you just didn't take Dion and your oldest son? Why you just didn't take them over to your mom's and let your mom watch them while you go meet with the grandparents? Because technically, the only one that's related to the Muckers is the baby in your hand. Dion and your oldest child, I think his name is Cam, they're not related to those people. They never will be related to those people unless you marry Rakan. And more than likely, that probably won't happen. However, why do you always feel the need to bring your other kids around other people? I don't get that. Why you do that? Do you use the children for empathy from the other people? Do you want people, oh, this poor woman, she has 3 babies, 3 men, and she's all by herself, poor thing. I mean, sis, look around you. Everybody in this world right now is struggling, okay? Folks is trying to figure out how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to eat, and everything else like that. I mean, you having 3 kids by 3 different men and you're not with any of those men, sis, is really a situation that you created for yourself, in my opinion. And that's not me being harsh, you guys. That's the real of the situation. Okay. So, but if you notice, she always leaving stuff at people's houses.
Called my son's grandmother. She made sure that I got his pacifier and his bottle. And I was explaining to her, like, I just want peace. I just want peace. I told her that his fiance is to never be around my son. And she said, hey, I respect that. You're the mother. He's so angry with me when I'm the one that was done wrong. Was I perfect? No. Will I take full responsibility for the things that I did wrong? Yes, I will. But there's nothing that I could have possibly done that was that bad to deserve the things I have been going through all of these months.
Sis, what you've been going through is the fact that Rakan has not been a willing participant in the pregnancy of your baby. You didn't do anything wrong other than pick the wrong man, sis. That's the only thing you did wrong. You know, you cannot change people. Okay. I don't know where you think that just because you're carrying a baby, a man is supposed to just fall hopelessly in love with you. Sis, if he wasn't in love with you before the baby, the conception of the baby, more than likely he's probably going to keep that same energy throughout the pregnancy and once the baby is born. Yeah, I don't know why Erica thinks like she's having the golden child. Like, since a lot of us women have been in your shoes or are currently in your shoes right now. And it's very unfortunate, but it's no reason to sugarcoat the situation. If Rakan wasn't hopelessly in love with you, and it definitely sounded like he was not, okay? I think he liked you. He liked you, but he wasn't in love with you, sis. Okay. And once you basically told him I was pregnant, very shortly after y'all started dating, like we know with any man, kids equals what? Responsibility. And a lot of men are cowards and run from those responsibilities. But it sounds like Rakan is going to be a man and step up to the plate and be a father to the child. But sis, that's kind of all he wants to do. He just wants to be a father to the child. I don't think he wants to be your friend. I don't think he wants to be your confidant. He just wants to be a father to the child. And Erica, allow him to be. You cannot pressure that man into treating you this way that you feel like you need to be treated. As long as he's cordial with you and respects you, like when he call you up, be like, hey, bitch, my baby ready. As long as he's not talking to you like that, since you can't expect the card on Mother's Day and, maybe, if he texts you and wish you happy Mother's Day, that's nice. But if he don't, sis, don't get into your feelings about it. It's okay. Move on. This is the part I don't get about Erica. I really don't.
While pregnant, while having COVID, while in a car accident, his sister ended up calling while I was outside of his parents' house talking to his mother. And she wanted me to FaceTime her so that she could see the baby. And I said, well, hey, how about we meet up at a restaurant so that we can talk? And I kind of felt like she was the only one that could get him there to see his son. Now, I was not going to press the issue. At that point, it was all about who really wants to be a part of my son's life. Both parents said that he looks identical to Ricardo. I knew that she was going to say the same thing because, she's the oldest sister. And actually, she's the only sister. I called his sister, and she picked a Mexican restaurant for us to meet up at to have lunch and for her to see her newborn nephew. So I made it there. I called her to see where she parked. She was parked on one side of the restaurant, and I was parked on another side of the restaurant. And I remember that place from somewhere, but I just could not figure out where. But when I walked in, I realized where. He took me on my first dates at that restaurant. And it was not the one that you guys saw in our professionally shot video. It was not for YouTube. This was outside of YouTube. I remember begging him for a date. Like, when are you going to take me on a date? And he would give excuse after excuse.
You remember begging him for a date and he would give you excuse after an excuse, but yet you slept with him unprotected and had his baby? And you expect for him now to feel like he's madly in love with you when you had to beg the man to take you on a date? Okay, girl.
So finally, I guess he just got tired of me asking, and he picked a Mexican restaurant. Yeah. So we go inside, we order food, and we get to talking, and the sister asked me that I want her to call Ricardo. See if she could get him here by himself. Because at that point, I told her, hey, I cannot control if he brings her here to this restaurant. But what I can do is walk out of here. Because I'm not sure how this situation would end if he ends up bringing her here. And it would not.
Me personally, I don't think Rakan would have been stupid enough to bring Creole Bay. And I would hope Creole Bay wouldn't have been stupid enough to come. Okay? Because again, him meeting his child for the first time has nothing to do with Creole Bay, in my opinion. So it sounds like he didn't show up. She didn't show up. Creole Bay did not show up.
Not be very wise. So she called him and he told her, give me 45 minutes so that I can take her home and drop her off. Her, meaning the woodpecker. He needed 45 minutes to drop the woodpecker off. 20 minutes passed by, and he was now 5 minutes away. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that was really fast. So his sister said, hey, let's go get the baby changed. I'll go to the bathroom with you, and after we finish changing him, I'm going to pray with you so that you'll kind of be at peace when he gets here. Because we hadn't seen each other since November. I mean, my nerves and nothing like that was bad. It's just the fact that now the realization of your son is being here has really, really, really set in. We go in the bathroom, we get the baby changed, and before I know it, he was there. We didn't even get a chance to even pray together. But I had done my own silent prayer, so whether we prayed together or not, I just knew that I was covered. I walk out.
Praying for what, sis? If the man agreed to come see the baby, what was we praying for? Was you praying that he would come to the Mexican restaurant with an engagement ring? Like he was coming to see his newborn baby boy. What was you praying for?
Out of the bathroom, I look over to where Dion and Camden was sitting. They were also sitting next to his nephew, which is his sister's son. And he was sitting alone at a table right by us, dressed in all red. I believe he had on a red t-shirt and some red shorts. And everything else after that was very, very faint. It's a funny thing, like when you really have to face someone that has done so much damage to you, that has put you through a lot of hurt and pain, and then you finally see them for the first time. It's very awkward and weird for one, but then it's like you kind of look at them and you kind of feel sorry for them. Like, what went wrong in your childhood to the point where you feel like what you have done to me was acceptable, and what you have done to me you feel like I should accept it, and you feel like I should keep accepting it. I walked over to his table and I handed him my son. And he grabbed my son. He grabbed our son. I sat down. I started eating. I was laughing and enjoying good conversation with his nephew. I was picking up food off the floor that Dion was throwing on the floor. And I was cracking jokes with Cam. And every now and again, I would look over at him, not because I thought that he was some eye candy, because once a person like disrespects you on the level that he has disrespected me, you no longer view them the same. You no longer look at them the same. You actually look at them in complete disgust. But I wanted to see how he was bonding with our son, his one and only son. And instantly, it really looked like he was melting almost. It looked like, honestly, the best way I can put it, it looked like things was finally going to change for me and my son. It really looked like maybe I was going to get the level of respect that I deserve as his child's mother. It looked like we was going to actually find a good way to co-parent, to be cordial, only for the sake of the child. I do not want ever a relationship with this man, but I will definitely have a co-parenting relationship. I feel like my son, he deserves a father in his life. So I was willing to let go of my own feelings for this situation so that my son can have a father figure in his life. His mother got up and whispered in my ear, could he take a picture of our son? I had told my son's grandfather that I didn't want him taking a picture of our son because of his face. His face was, pretty messed up from, the severe eczema that we are going to go see a dermatologist for. And I told him that I was going to airdrop him a photo, and I did. Because at that point, I was a little ashamed that I did not have his number. I had deleted his number. I had deleted everything of his that was in my phone. Any pictures, text messages. 20 minutes later, it was time for him to go, or I think. But he left 20 minutes later. But before he left, he gave Camden a head nod, and he acknowledged Dion's existence. And Dion was being Dion. So I chuckled a little bit, and I said, Dion is not the same Dion that he was, because he's not. He is a handful.
Erica. What does that have to do with the introduction of the baby? Dion and Camden and head nods, and this is gonna be a hard road.
You guys have seen that. And I told him, I said, hey, well, let me know whenever you want to see him again. And he said, okay, thank you for letting me see him. And he left. The next day, I gave him my number by sending him a text. Because guess what? The next day, me and my second child's father, we was into it with each other on the internet. And because I felt like he was finally going to step up to the plate, I felt like I needed to give him an apology for, going ahead and posting a picture of our son, which was the very same picture that I airdropped to him, by the way, because it was one of the few pictures that I had taken where, his skin wasn't terrible. And, well, I didn't get no response back. The next day, his mother called me to check up on her grandson. And, from day one, like when she first seen him, she said she knew that was her grandbaby. She never doubted her grandbaby. She said she always knew that it was.
And Erica, sis, more than likely he is that man's baby. He does have features. The child is, look, sis, at the end of the day, the validity of the DNA of your child, it's unfortunate that man is questioning you. It's very unfortunate. But unfortunately, sis, this is what happens when you have babies with men that you're really not sure of their character, right? You really didn't know Rakan long enough to really, get into the point that you're having, like, you didn't even know the man 6 months, sis, to be in all fairness. Okay. So, same way with Damien. Okay. And once again, you're having babies with the men and you barely know his extended family. Like it's just, I don't know. It's very weird how she works and stuff. And a lot of people say, oh, hopefully Erica will get it together. Yeah, hopefully she will. But y'all, at the end of the day, if this woman wants to keep living her life like that, who are we to stop her? But I think eventually Erica's going to get tired of being sick and tired. And I think she feels like because she has the baby, that's her way into the family, and, essentially it just really depends on how the family perceives you, Now, if the mother-in-law or the grandmother loves you and loves the baby and the sisters and the brothers, and that's great, sis. That's fine, okay? Because I don't feel like it's not cohesive for the family all to be falling out with each other, right? That's not cohesive. In my opinion, getting along with the family of the dad in a woman's situation is always better for the co-parenting experience, in my opinion. But even if you don't get along with the family, ultimately, the only person you really need to bond with or get along with is the father.
That he belonged to her, because me and her were really close. I've cried to her about stuff that didn't have anything to do with me and Ricardo, just stuff that I've been through in my life. One of the things that she had asked me when she called to check up on him was, have I talked to Ricardo? For months, she had been trying to get us to sit down and have a sober conversation, but it wasn't possible. And you guys already know why. And
I'm just curious, Erica, what type of results do you want for Rakan? Like, if the man says he's going to take care of his child, sis, what else do you need from him? If he's willing to support the child, spend time with the child, what other conversations do y'all need to have? As far as y'all relationship, it's obvious that's over, right? So I'm curious, what other conversations need to be discussed? I mean, you do understand that the man is with a whole nother woman. You do understand that, Erica. So what are you trying to achieve here with him? He came and saw the baby. You asked him to come see the baby. He came and met you at the Mexican restaurant. Sounds like he's bought things for the child for when the child is at his house. We do understand you don't want him around Creole Bay. And obviously that's something more, you guys have to work out. But if the man is going to marry this woman, Erica, how can you stop it? You can't stop it. I do understand a lot of you guys don't like Creole Bay, but at the end of the day, as long as Creole Bay does not show any type of animosity towards the baby, which we can only hope she's not that type of woman, considering she's a mother herself. We can only hope, right? I don't understand what Erica feels like she's going to accomplish by having a sit-down conversation with Rakan. Sounds like he's willing to deal with he's willing to be a part. I don't mean to say deal with, but he's willing to be a part of the baby. He said he's going to put himself on child support. Sis, what else are we talking about?
He just told me that she was going to tell him, that I had reached out to him and that she was going to inform him, because that day after that live, which would have been the 3rd, I ended up having to take him to the doctor, which we've been to the doctor at least 4 or 5 times already about his skin, because it was getting worse and worse by the second. And I wanted to keep him in the loop to let him know about things. And so later that day, I guess she had talked to him, because I got a text from him and said that she relayed the message. And I kept it strictly about our son, as you guys have seen in the text message. Strictly about our son. Nothing more, nothing less. Told him don't be afraid to reach out. Even sent him 4 or 5 pictures that I don't want to really reveal yet. And yeah, that was that. Now that me and my second child's father is back on good terms. And when I say good terms, I'm not talking about relationship status. I'm talking about cordial enough for our son, meaning I can come drop him off at his house. He can come pick him up at my house. There's no animosity. We're forgiving each other. We're moving on. We're doing what we have to do for the sake of our child. Nothing more, nothing less. When he came to pick up Dion, he said that there was something that he needed to tell me, that he had been holding it in, and he didn't know how I was going to react to it, but he just had to tell me. And I said, what? And he said, he talked to Ricardo and the woodpecker. And I said, what? You did what? He said, yes. I talked to both of them. He had received a phone call from a blocked number, And when he answered it, it was a woodpecker. And she said, Damien, wait before you hang up. Me and Ricardo want to talk to you.
Now, I'm curious. How is Damien receiving phone calls from Creole Bay when Damien said he changed his number? So have they been in contact recently since he's changed his number? You guys let me know in the comments. Did I hear that? I thought Damien said he had changed his number, or maybe he didn't change his number. But, you know, at this point, Creole Bay reaching out to Damien, wanting Damien and Rakan to mend fences, definitely does sound like a sneaky tactic on Creole Bay's behalf, because she's trying to outsmart Erica. Erica was still under the presumption that Mucker and Damien didn't like each other. And I think Erica enjoyed that aspect because that was power for her, right? Or leverage. I'm going to say that. When Creole Bay intervened and mend the fences, in my opinion, I think Erica felt like it was making her less powerless, because if anybody need to coordinate a kumbaya between the baby daddies, it definitely should be with the baby mama of both the baby, or to the baby, both the daddies, right? Creole Bay don't have a child or a chicken with either one of these men. So I'm curious on why Creole Bay felt like it was her, I don't know, citizen duty to do that. Now, Damien confided in Erica. I mean, rightfully so. He probably should have told her that. But let's see how Erica felt about that.
Ricardo told him that he wanted to squash things with him, that he wanted to meet up at a park or even at a nice restaurant on camera to squash things with him, to show the YouTube community that they can be grown adults about this situation. Damien said that he told him no, that is not a good idea, and that he's not going to do anything else to cause me even more pain, in which I had already been going through.
But how would that cause you pain, Erica? If Damien and Rakan decided to have a sit-down conversation on camera, how would that cause you pain? I'm curious. Me personally, I don't think you should care either way. You don't have a relationship with Damien or Rakan, so why do you care? If these two grown men decided to reach out to each other without your interference and decided to have a grown man conversation, because in all fairness, Erica, because of Erica, you guys, is the reason why these men have animosity towards each other, because of Erica, right? So if these two men decided to mend the fences without Erica's interference, how is that hurting you? I think Damien said that because he just wanted to play with your mental, because he knows you like to feel like a victim in all situations. And Damien did that. That was a tactic he used to make you feel like he was on your side.
He said that it had been almost a month since he had seen his son, and he was not trying to get on my bad side, because he wants to be a part of his son's life.
But how does talking to Rakan, why would that influence you not to let him see his son? Now, okay, see, Erica, this is where this stuff starts going weird for me, because I think you feel like you know, in a way, I understand when Creole Bay said you use your children as pawns. This statement right here, in my opinion, solidifies what Creole Bay states. Because why would Damien feel like he couldn't have a relationship with Dion because he talked to Rakan Mucker without you knowing about it? You and Damien are not in a relationship, nor are you and Rakan. So what's I don't understand what the problem is. Y'all let me know. Am I missing something?
the woodpecker overstepped her boundaries again and brought up child support, referencing when she told him to put himself on child support, which I would have never put him on child support because he gives more than enough money. So Damien said that he told her and him that, well,
Erica, it sounds like you need to go up there and see what Dion is doing, because Cam just seemed like he wants to be off of babysitting duty. Does he sound like Dion sound like that he up there? Sis, you might want to get off this camera and go see about your baby, sis.
Not like that. She's not gonna put you on child support as long as you're doing right by her. But if you're not doing right by her, then you're gonna have a major problem. He told Ricardo that he needed to step up. He congratulated Ricardo on a beautiful baby boy. And then that's when he said that he started hearing arguing in the background. Ricardo and the woodpecker were into it. Yes. And he said that it was almost like they forgot that he was on the phone. That Ricardo started talking about how he didn't get any sales last month, how he barely made anything, and how things is really bad for him. And the woodpecker said something about she doesn't know how she's going to get school clothes. Yeah. And Damien.
Well, how does a Creole babe not getting school clothes? Now, Damien, you need to stop acting like a little woman. You should have just hung up that phone. That wasn't no conversation for you, okay? Creole babe, she said she got $10,000 to go get IVF. She don't got $1,000 to go get school clothes.
And said he pretty much told them, like, hey, y'all should have never let things get the way that it got. Y'all should have never let things go on this far. And Ricardo said, I know. And that's why the wedding is called off. And he said the woodpecker was in the back crying and was saying little smart things in the background. And one of the things that she said was, I thought you said that we wasn't going to let anyone know that the wedding was called off.
Is Rakan calling off the wedding because his money is funny over there? Well, that makes sense. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like you should call it off. You definitely, maybe if they've set a date, maybe adjust the date, you know. Rakan knows that he has a lot on his plate. He now has 3 children instead of 2. And he just, if he marries Creole Babe, he's going to inherit her 2 children, which now that's a family of 5 kids plus him and her. So that's a lot for a man whose sales are not being consistent. He's not consistently making money every month. So, yeah, that definitely could be a situation. I'll say that.
Damien also told me it was also said that Ricardo wanted to squash the beef, as he said that we both have a baby by the same woman, and eventually we're going to end up pulling up at the same time, seeing one another. Also, one of the things that was mentioned from Ricardo, and the reason why he wanted to squash the beef with my second child's father, is because he said that they both have kids by the same woman, and they're both going to have to pull up at the same time for our kids. For our kids. And the woodpecker didn't like that because she said, oh, our kids, like with an attitude. With an attitude. It was also mentioned that he told my second child's father that I still have recordings on him, which is not true because by now I would have definitely released them. But I'm not understanding someone that I haven't seen since November and talked to since February. How could you say that I still have recordings on him when I didn't record him at all while me and Pardo was together? But more so, since you haven't seen or talked to me, if I did have recordings, how do you know I didn't delete them? Seems like to me that Ricardo is still trying to stir up mess and he's still worried about the wrong things, and I'm the wrong thing. Long story short, when my child's father came to drop Dion back off at home, I asked him because I got to thinking. I was like, have you talked to her prior to the conversation that you had with her and Ricardo the day that they called you blocked? He told me, he said, I'm not going to lie. She called me the day that you were at the restaurant with his family. She called him crying, guys, saying that Ricardo was with me. Very misleading because he was not just with me. He was with.
But why is Creole Bay calling Damien, telling Damien that Ricardo is with you seeing his child? What was Damien supposed to do? Come up there and throw Ricon, or why am I calling this man Ricardo? I mean Ricon. Was Damien supposed to come and throw Ricon out the restaurant? Like, that's weird. You know what, y'all? I'm gone. I'm out of here. Bye, Erica. Bye. We'll see you on episode 2, sis, if it's worth watching. Oh, boy, y'all. That was a lot. What do y'all think? Like, oh, child. I'm telling you, you got to have the patience of Job to go through all this messy. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, I basically told you guys my thoughts in this situation. Like I said, I don't know if this is fiction, made for TV, obsession. I don't know what it is. But one thing I do definitely know, and I think we all can agree, is damn sure messy. All right, you guys, I'm gone. I'm out of here. That concludes my commentary on Luvd by Erica's titled Poor Baby. I guess we'll just have to wait to see what the rest of the episodes are going to look like, even if we're going to continue on, y'all. Because I'm going to be honest, when she did season 1, I didn't even read. I think she lost me at episode 7. I kind of like blacked out. Okay. I'm gone. I'm out of here. You guys definitely make sure you leave your thoughts and your opinions down below in the comments. Make sure you guys hit a like button if you like these type of reaction videos, if these are channels that you like and you like to, you know, hear somebody giving their thoughts on what you've already watched and thought about. Make sure you leave your comments down below. And again, remember, sub what you love. Bye.